So the last thing we're going to talk about is the scope of marketing. Kind of what is marketing? What isn't marketing? Where are the boundaries? First of all, nowadays marketing is everywhere. Where can you go to escape marketing? Mm, Nowhere, especially if you bring your phone, unless you're in the middle of the woods and there's no signal someplace. But, marketing is becoming more and more entwined in our daily life. And hopefully, or really, the good marketers know how to add value so that you at least you don't protest and you may appreciate it. For example, if you're a Google person, you use Google Drive, Google Docs, Google Calendar, Gmail, all that kind of stuff, you probably have a pretty good feeling or attitude towards Google and so forth because they provide a lot of value and services. And in exchange, you got to listen to watch some ads and get interrupted a little bit and so forth. But it's okay. But it's going to grow and grow because the more and more we're accessible through devices, the more and more marketers are going to be able to reach us. Now, who does marketing? All right, and this is not a complete list at all, but obviously businesses, right? Not for profits, whether they're the Red Cross or some group pushing for social change, all right, or educational institutions. Politics is all marketing, all right, especially because many politicians on both sides don't really tell the truth, all right? They're not honest, all right? And lying is stretching the truth is okay because we've come to expect that from politicians, celebrities, musicians, actors, influencers, bloggers, all sorts of stuff. Different companies that recruit organizations, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Red Cross, whatever other groups, that are still out there that haven't been cut, by the federal government. Health and medical services, legal services, sports teams, players, etc., etc. So that's only part of it, all right? Countries, vacation places, you name it. Everybody does marketing. So interesting question is kind of what's marketing? Where does marketing start and where does it end? What's the scope? So this is kind of what I thought about it a long time ago, and I think it makes some sense. And I'll use myself as the guinea pig. So hey, I'm a junior in college. I live in a frat. I played two sports, football and lacrosse. And I met a young woman, maybe she's a freshman, in one of my classes, and we kind of flirted and, kind of hit it off. So I asked her, hey, do you want to go out to have some dinner at a local Italian restaurant slash pizzeria before we go to a party at some other fraternity? And she said yes. So it's great. So it's in the fall, so I'm at practice. So I get home, and I live not home, but I leave my frat in my room. And, what do I do first? Well, most people say, oh, take a shower. Well, I already did that. So my generation, we showered in the gym. My son, both my sons who did athletics and other activities, they never would shower at school. So I did that already. What do I have to do? Well, I still got to groom myself, make my hair look good. I had long hair. I may have had a beard at that time and so forth. Put on extra deodorant and, touch up any of my shaving and stuff like that, or shave if I hadn't shaved, and so forth. And then what? Well, I got to figure out what to wear. So I go in my room. There's really not a lot of clean clothes. So I have to find some clothes that don't smell too bad, give them the sniff test, right? Go through my closet where my hamper was, pull out some suitable clothes. And then what do I have to do? I get my clothes, I'm good. I have to clean up my room. You never know. All right, so then I got to take all my clothes or scatter all over the place from looking for clothes and throw them back in the hamper, tidy up, make the bed, put some stuff away, get rid of the empty beer bottles, and this and that, and do all that kind of stuff. So I have the place neat enough. Open the windows to make sure there's no smell, and then, I'm going to go walk over to her dorm, and we're going to walk down to the restaurant. So I get over her place, over at Clark Hall, I knock on the door, and she comes out, and hopefully what's she done? She's wearing nice clothes that are flattering. A lot of women didn't wear makeup then. It was at the height of feminism, so that wasn't really what a lot of women did at the place that I was at. Hopefully she'd shaved her armpits and legs. I probably wouldn't have asked her out, honestly, if she hadn't. But so she looks nice, and I'm happy. So we're walking across the campus. It's like a 20-minute walk. or so. We're not going fast because we're talking to the restaurant. So what do we talk about? What do I talk about? Do I say, "Hey, I play football and lacrosse. I'm a good player. I enjoy it very much." No, of course not. I don't do that. If you want to get to know somebody, what do? You ask some questions. So I'd ask her, we maybe talk a little bit about class, ask her what she did on this assignment, how she likes it, what her experience has been, where she's from, what friends she has, what else is she doing, and try to be charming and amusing and make some jokes and so forth. And hopefully she's kind of doing the same for me, right? So if you want to get, most people enjoy talking about themselves to some degree if the other person is interested. So we do that and we banter back and forth and everything's going good. And we get down to the restaurant and then we go sit at our table. And if I was there with my friends or my frat or other people on one of the teams or other groups I knew, we would probably buy a bunch of beer and pitchers and buy some pizza, the cheapest pizza they had, because quantity is much more important than quality. But with her, what do we order? I'd probably order something like, veal parmesan, and I don't drink beer. I'll get a red wine or Chianti or something like that. And she's ordering like same thing, maybe eggplant parmesan or something, veal marsala or who knows. But we're not ordering pizza. All right. And, we go through dinner and we talk and hopefully I don't have stuff, stuck between my teeth or this or that. And everything goes well. And then we get up and we walk and we're going to go to the party. Where hopefully we'll hang out a fair amount, but we'll know lots of other people and so forth. So my question is that marketing? I changed my appearance. I, really targeted the questions I asked and acted in a certain way. I changed, the type of food I eat, the drink I have, and so forth. And let's presume that she did the same thing. Is that marketing? I don't know. All right. I mean, I like to compare humans to animals, because there's really not that much difference in behavior sometimes. And so, I don't know if it was marketing. We were kind of doing the animal mating, kind of ritual, right? Where I go, the male does a little dance, the female does a dance, or whatever movements, and we're kind of like checking each other out and stuff. I don't know if it's marketing or not, but it seems like it could be marketing. And I think the takeaway from it is not that it is or not marketing, but we kind of understand how to do marketing at a basic level. We understand how can I make somebody happy or please them, and therefore I can, probably get what I want. It doesn't have to be, an insidious or an evil thing that you want or a reason. Okay? So I think that for a lot of people, marketing comes naturally. And then, if you ever have problems in marketing, just think about if you were the customer, what would you want? What would make you happy? What would make this better? What would add more value? Put yourself, in the shoes of your customer. Walk a mile in their, shoes, and you'll have a better understanding of what will work. And marketing is certainly, not easy, but it's very profitable, all right? Because you're the one for the corporation who identifies, finds, and builds relationships for people who are willing to give you what you want for what you have for them. And so you don't have a company if you can't do that. Now, so the last thing I'm going to talk about is the marketing mix, the 4 Ps, all right? And you have to excuse, marketing people and business in general because there's a lot of jargon. And jargon is just words or terms that are specialized that unless you're in the know, you can't really figure it out. And most of you guys, many of you have played a sport, so you know their terms in whether it's volleyball or field hockey or ice hockey or basketball that, if you play and been coached, you know what it means, but other people don't. Well, there's a lot of jargon in business, especially with marketers because they're marketing, all right? They want their things to stand out. So, but the original one is the idea of the 4 Ps or the marketing mix. And, the 4 P's are product, which makes sense, promotion, nowadays most people would call it marketing communications, place, which is probably the weakest one, which is distribution, all right, and then price, which is what it is. And some people have added a 5th P, and they call it people, because people are important, because people provide services and you have to market to people within your company, and that's kind of like, yeah, it all fits in the stuff up there. So why the marketing mix? I couldn't figure that out for a while, but really what it comes down to is these are the 4 things that you have, as a marketer that you can control. Right? You can design your product and add features and not have features that you want and do all that kind of stuff. All right. So think of mix as like a recipe. You're baking your own. Your kind of whole marketing thing is you're baking your own cake, and you add the different things you want and the amounts, the ingredients to what you need or want. So there isn't just one formula for it. Okay, and there's a lot to these, so I'm not going to go through them right now, but we'll have, you know, PowerPoints and units on product, price, promotion, and place, right? But obviously, products a big deal. The right products, products go out of date. You can make a lot of products, and then that's great. You can get sales and reach a lot of people, but then they start to go, you know, get old and no longer fit. So you have to make sure you prune them. They're also expensive to develop lots of products and so forth. There's lots of decisions to make. Price, right? And again, price is tricky because price not only is what people have to give up, it says something about your product. And, trying to understand or create value is what drives price. So price is more than just setting a numerical value for people, right? You manage price and you manage people's perceptions of the price and the product. Place, distribution is really an area that's been changing a lot because of e-commerce, and so channels, like originally were like retailers, wholesalers. Now they're digital. So what's different is you might have a website and you do e-commerce there, but also on your website or in your social media platforms that you own, or use, you're also doing marketing communications and all this other different stuff. So it's become intertwined with a lot of stuff. But, distribution is the idea, or places. You have to get your product in front of people, whether it's in person or digitally or in some other way. And then you have to get the product to them. They have to be able to not only look at the product or experience it in some way that's meaningful, but also then you have to ship it to them, get it to them. Right? Some stuff's digital, sometimes not. And we know that, supply chains, even though not technically marketing, have become an issue ever since COVID, for companies. And then the last one is promotion. So promotion is marketing communications, right? Again, this really broad field now because you have the traditional types of marketing communication such as television, I don't know, print media, magazines. I don't know if anybody reads magazines anymore and stuff, newspapers, that type of advertising and sales promotion, and then all the new digital ways, right? And, what's going on with Google and third-party cookies and targeting and retargeting people if they don't buy and they go to, look online and so forth. So, how invasive will it be? Right? What are the privacy rights? So that's all, a lot to navigate and constantly changing as, technology and social change, keep up the rapid pace of change. And then all of that in the middle is the most important person is your target market, your group of customers that you're trying to reach. So what the marketing mix is kind of designing those things that you have some control over. Okay, sometimes a lot, sometimes not as much as you perceive. All right. And then, putting together the baking the right cake for your target market that gives you, superiority over your competition. So that's really what a lot of marketing is. And we'll pick up next talking about the other part of this called the marketing environment.